Hey guys, and welcome back to We Suck at Cooking. This is the inaugural episode of season 2 of our cooking show, The Cookbook. We totally forgot to call it that last season. This is The Cookbook, our Saturday show, right?
Friday. Wait, no, Saturday.
Yeah, we did move it to Saturday. The companion, of course, is our Wednesday show, Whatever Wednesdays, where we try different things with food.
Today we are making a Hawaiian dish known as spam musubi, one of my favorites. Get ready. For this recipe, you will need the following ingredients. 6 tablespoons of soy sauce, 4 tablespoons of mirin. We don't have mirin, so we will be using rice vinegar, which is just as good. 4 tablespoons of sugar. Those 3 together will create our marinade, but if you want to skip the steps, you can try to find some spam that already has teriyaki flavoring. We will be using spam light, which has less fat and less sodium, just to be a little bit on the healthier side. Calrose rice as needed, or you can use sushi rice. Lastly, we will need some roasted seaweed, also known as nori.
And those are your ingredients. On to the next step.
We're going to begin by making our marinade. We're going to start with 4 tablespoons of sugar, 4 tablespoons of mirin or rice vinegar, and 6 tablespoons of soy sauce. I should mention that mirin is typically sweeter than rice vinegar, so we may need to add a little bit more sugar. With everything measured out on my end, we're just going to stir until all the sugar dissolves.
I'm going to be making the rice. For this one, we're going to make 1.5 cups of rice. You're going to need 2 cups of water. All right, there's my rice. Now that I have it, I'm going to go ahead and drop in the water. There you go, a little more violently than I thought I should have done that. So there we go, we declumped it.
Our sauce is all made. It is a little bit watery, so what we're going to do is we're actually going to boil it. But first, we're actually going to crack open our spam so that we can cut it up.
And there you have it, the stuff that I don't eat.
After you remove your spam from the can, you actually want to keep the can. We will be using it later. There you go. So we're just gonna set this to the side.
I'm actually gonna set this over here, and the reason I'm gonna set it over here is because I would like Spam to give us sponsorship. So if you would, please contact Spam. Let them know, hey, sponsor We Suck at Cooking.
This step is up to you to how many pieces you want to make. Typically, I slice it into about 8 to 10 equal pieces.
And notice he's not cutting thick slices. It's relatively thin. Relatively. You know, because I'm from Barcelona, and in España we speak like this. Sorry to any people in Spain. I apologize immediately. That is a terrible accent.
So we are just going to transfer our sauce into our pan.
Bring it nice and low, and let it all just drip in there. Remember, when you're pouring liquids, you want to keep it nice and low and not do what I do every single time, which is drop it from over here and cascade it.
We're gonna go ahead and start lighting this.
Remember, you're gonna want to start with high heat, and then once we reduce it, we're gonna come down to a low heat, a very low heat.
Now we play the waiting game. It is starting to boil over. You can see with the bubbles starting to accumulate. We are going to start lowering our heat.
You're gonna burn it, you're gonna burn it, you're gonna burn it.
Lowering the heat. Our sauce has thickened up quite a bit. It's not super thick, but that should be fine as long as we get the flavor in there. We did give it a little bit of a taste test. We think that it's still a little bit on the soy sauce kind of side, so we are going to add just a little bit more sugar. This is going to, of course, take a little bit more time again for the sugar to dissolve, but that's no problem. So I think by this point we are good to go to start cooking our spam. If you would like to get a stronger taste, you can marinate your spam in the sauce first before frying. So I'm going to raise the heat a little bit so that our spam can be cooked. And yes, spam needs to be cooked. You want each side to be a nice golden browny color. Right now I'm just going to cover each slice with a little bit of the sauce while we're waiting for one side to cook. Raise the heat up just a little bit. And you will want to be checking your spam continuously because spam does tend to cook faster than most meats that you would cook this way. So with our tongs in hand, I'm just going to go ahead and check our spam. You are going to be looking for a nice crispy kind of golden brown color, but you don't want it to blacken too much.
It's starting to boil a little bit, so we're gonna lower that heat just a tad. Did you give it another taste test before you dumped them in?
Nope. Flip over.
Grab it with the tongs, you have tongs.
It is a little bit darker. That is what we are going for.
I'm gonna go ahead and show you the Spam again. You see that nice bright pink versus the more adobe brick red we have going on here.
If you are going to cook it in the marinade straight like this, it won't crisp up as much because the marinade is covering the bottom. Your Spam will be relatively soft, but if you do like a crispier Spam, maybe after a few minutes in this, you might want to fry them separately on a separate fryer.
What if they fried them a little first and then covered them in the teriyaki?
Shouldn't affect it as long as you get that sauce in. If you don't get as strong of a flavor of the sauce, you can of course just dip it in the marinade so that it has a nice sauce covering rather than having the flavor absorbed by the Spam.
If you have questions, we do like them in the comments. Make sure to leave those questions in the comments. If you like what you're seeing, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Remember to share with people. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter.
We have our Spam, we have our rice. We did go ahead and clean out our Spam can, which I recommend you do as well.
I'm gonna get our Pyrex dish. There's no particular reason why I'm getting this Pyrex dish, other than we are completely out of cutting boards because, well, we suck at cooking, don't we?
So I have a nice big piece of cling wrap. You want enough so you can push the cling wrap all the way down and still have enough sticking out that you can pull it up later. Inside the can, there are sharp edges, so be careful with your fingers. You want to keep your nori as closed off as possible. You want seaweed to be dried up for this step. Once you open the bag, it is introduced to air and it can get moisture. If you are planning to do this ahead of time and meal prep, I would recommend that you keep the nori separate until you are ready to wrap them. You don't want to put too much rice. What you think is a little bit of rice can actually be a lot when you're making this, just because you have a small surface area, so it will actually pile up. Around this, maybe a little bit more should be okay. So once you have a relatively good amount of rice, it's all flattened out, you can go ahead and add your Spam. Press it down as much as possible.
I've had a little bit of trouble cutting the seaweed. You would preferably want to do this with food-safe scissors, which of course we don't have because we suck at cooking. I've sort of serrated it with the knife as much as I could, and now I'm just using that old paper trick of constantly bending back and forth. Instead of turning our halves into halves, we're gonna turn them into thirds.
Our halves into halves?
Our halves into halves. Each half is a half.
We're just gonna gently pull it out. With your musubi laying flat, we're gonna go ahead and grab our nori, press on top.
Equal amounts on either side.
And then just very carefully turn it over. You want to have a small bowl of water ready. Fold one side, dip your fingers into the water. Lightly brush the nori that you placed down. If it does not stick for you, what you can also do is just grab tiny grains of the rice that you made and smush it down. That will also act like glue.
All right, guys, and there you have it. There's Jay's Spam musubi.
These are all finished, but of course my partner is a vegetarian. We weren't able to make vegetarian friendly ones, so I'm going to actually give one to Juan. There you go. I'm gonna go ahead and grab my own. I have no one to dink, so air dink. There you go. All right, let's dig in. That is delicious. I gotta say, musubi is always one of my favorite foods. I'm down to eat this no matter what time of day. I usually make like 4 and I'll just eat 4 for lunch. Usually I do add bacon and eggs. Like I said, I do like breakfast musubi, but this is just as good. You have a nice sweetness because of the sugar rice vinegar mix. So your Spam has a nice sweet taste. It does have a little bit of salty. The soy sauce isn't completely gone. It's not an overpowering saltiness or an overpowering sweetness. It's a nice balance. The rice is nice and soft. Pair that with the nori, basically the basis for sushi. So it's kind of like Spam sushi. So I really do think that if you try this, you will love it.
If you like what you see, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you leave us some comments below letting us know what you thought of this recipe. Have you tried it? How did it go for you? Do you have any ideas? Do you have your own recipes you'd like to share? Make sure you leave them down in the comments. Do you want us to try something? Make sure you let us know and we'll try to make that happen. For myself, Jay, and for Juan, thank you for watching, and we hope to see you on a future episode of We Suck at Cooking.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
I'm gonna go eat 10 of these.
Click that stuff everywhere. Click that stuff.